What's up, people? Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 here, and welcome to the 2020 revision of the Orichalcos Challenge. I know it's been a long time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Content is officially back on my channel. This is just the start of it. I got more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content coming to this channel, so please stay tuned. But for now, let's get to the new revision of the Orichalcos Challenge. Now, I did some heavy modifying, and with the new ban list just coming out, I figured I'd change up my model a little bit, just so the deck can keep up with various meta decks and other things. So, without further ado, let's get started. First up, you guys should know these two by now, Shaman and Sorcerer. If you want to find out what they do, you could check out my previous Orichalcos deck challenge episodes. But for a brief summarize, basically, just looking at him for a minute. Basically, when he's normal summon, I can special summon a level 4 low Orichalcos monster from my hand or deck. I can shuffle up to 5 cards in my graveyard into my deck. And up to 3 cards, different names in my graveyard, shuffle them into my deck, then draw 2 cards. I can change the level from 1 to 8, and I control only one, and I can only control one Orichalcos Shaman on the field, and I can only use each of his effects once per turn. Sorcerer, basically what he does is he can only be special. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a level 4 lower Orichalcos monster, I can pretty much special summon another level 4 lower Orichalcos monster from my hand or deck. I can target a Synchro or Xyz monster in my graveyard, return it to the extra deck. I can change this card's level from 1 to 8. If this card is used for a Synchro or Xyz summon, I can add 1 Orichalcos card from my deck or graveyard to my hand. I can only control 1 Sorcerer on the field. I can only use each of his effects once per turn. So that's pretty much just a brief overlook of what they do. You can also look at my past Orichalcos Challenge deck profiles, and basically I'll go in some of the other videos I'll go into a bit more detail, but this is pretty much all you need to know. Next up, Tukitora. Stable Orichalcos cards: the Tukitora, the Shunros, the Dexia, the Risteros, the Vine Serpent, yada yada yada. Just stuff you guys know already. Then, there's these two. There's this, Orichalcos Priestess. Very good level 4 Orichalcos monster. Basically, during each of my standby phases, I gain 500 life points for each other monster I control. And once per turn, and only once that turn, I can pay 1,000 life points to special summon a level 4 lower Orichalcos monster from my graveyard. However, its effects are negated, and I can only control 1 priestess on the field. Really nice. Orichalcos Fairy. This is pretty much the only Orichalcos tuner monster in my deck, but this is all I really need. Basically, if it's sent to the graveyard for the synchro summon of a dark attributed synchro monster, I gain 2,000 life points. And if I would take damage, I can discard this card from my hand to the graveyard. I take no damage this turn. Basically, it's a tuner version of Karibo. That's basically what it is. Next up, one Gygas, staple. You guys should know what he does by now. He's basically Gygas. He just keeps coming back every time you destroy him. Next up, one of the past cards in one of my very first Orichalcos Challenge episodes back in 2012, Lord of the Orichalcos Army. This monster here was one of my very first Orichalcos monsters that I put into the deck. I didn't make this one, but it was one of the very first ones that I found for when I started making my Orichalcos deck back in 2012. Basically, he's a dark level 6, 25, 2,000. I can negate the effects of all trap cards that target this card. And during my draw phase, I can add 1 level 4 lower Orichalcos monster from the deck to my hand instead of conducting my normal draw. So essentially he's a Rhoda. That's what he is. Next up, Singularity Fiend. This is from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Basically, essentially, if Singularity Fiend is in your hand and you have a spell card in your hand, you can pretty much pitch both of them to the graveyard to negate a special summon and destroy that monster. So essentially, that's what that's there. It's basically good removal. Next up, Darkness Seed. Love this monster to death. Love Night Shroud's archetype to death. This is one of my favorite monsters of all time. Basically, if this thing is let me see here. Yep, I'm right. If this thing is sent to the graveyard, I can activate its effect, and during my second standby phase after activation, it comes back with 2 special abilities. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and during my end phase, if my life points are below 4,000, they go back to 4,000. So he's pretty much there to keep the life points going. Next up, Orichalcos Searcher. Basically, more fodder to get more Orichalcos cards. Essentially, when this card is sent to the graveyard, I add 2 Orichalcos cards from my deck to my hand. So essentially, Jinzo is turned into an Orichalcos monster, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. Next up, Orichalcos Magician Girl. One of my higher level Orichalcos monsters. Basically, I can only control one of her. And if I control the Seal of Orichalcos, I can special summon her from my hand. This card gains 300 attack for every Orichalcos monster in either player's grave. Once per turn, I can discard 1 card, then add 1 Orichalcos card from my deck to my hand. So good special summoning and good searching. Next up, Rick of the Fifth Swordsman. This card's been a part of my past deck profiles. Essentially, what it's mainly in here for is to help me get the Seal of Orichalcos to my hand. That's mainly what he's there for. And next up, Traveler of the Orichalcos. Just a cool little tech card I put in here. Basically, when he's normal summoned, I can special summon the level 4 lower Orichalcos monster from my hand or deck, but its effects are negated. Also, it cannot be used as synchro material. I can discard this card to add 1 Orichalcos card from my deck to my hand. So, more searching. Next up, we have Orichalcos Knight. One of the, and Dark Orichalcos Knight. They pretty much go together. They've been a part of my Orichalcos deck for years. If you pretty much want to check out what they do, you can check out the past deck profiles. I've covered these 2 many, many times. And, next up, now these 3 particular monsters here, I'm not going to reveal their identities. These are 3 special monsters that I added to the Orichalcos deck just recently. If you want to know what they are, you're going to have to duel me and find out. So we'll just set these guys over here. Alright, next up for the spell cards, we got the usual Triple Seal of Orichalcos, Dutros, Tritos, 2 Chosen Destinies, Orichalcos Gateway. This is my replacement for Orichalcos Eye. Basically what this does is once per turn, I can activate one of the following effects. I can either pay 500 life points to shuffle 1 Orichalcos card from my hand or graveyard back into my deck, then draw 1 card. Or I can pay 1,000 life points to add 1 Orichalcos card from my deck or graveyard to my hand. So it's got Orichalcos Eye's effect in it, but it's also got some other utility as well. Really good card. Really good card. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I heard something outside. Okay, anyway, next up, 2 Orichalcos transfer draw. Basically, I can pretty much either discard 1 Orichalcos, Mirror Knight Calling, or Divine Serpent Monster from my hand to the graveyard. Well, not from my hand to the grave. Yeah. Shuffle 1 Orichalcos, Mirror Knight Calling, or Divine Serpent Monster from your hand or into your deck, then draw 2 cards. So I pretty much shuffle 1 of those 3 back into my deck, draw 2 cards, simple as that. Grave Arm. This is a card that My Valentine used in the anime. I destroy a monster, and as long as that monster's in the graveyard, it cannot be special summoned. Next up, we got a few other, we got at least 2 other mystery cards here. Basically, they're to add a little bit of excitement to the challenge. If you want to check them out, feel free to duel me. We'll put those over there. Next up, we have Orichalcos Destroyer. I pay 1,000 life points, destroy every card my opponent controls. This is pretty much back row removal. Next up, I have Reality Shatter Summon. This is a card given to me by my friend Logan Godinez, who's now known as Wynter Moon. Shout out to you, bro. Thank you for the card. Basically what it does is I target any number of monsters in my hand, special summon them. If I do, I send the top card of my deck for each one of them. Very good, unclogging. Next up, the trap card Divine Gain. Basically, this is here for the sole purpose of Divine Serpent. How it works is once Divine Serpent is summoned, its first effect is going to go off, which is going to discard my hand, cut my life points, yada yada yada. Well, once it's summoned, I can activate this. That effect's negated, which means I don't lose my hand, I keep my life points, and Divine Serpent doesn't go anywhere. So basically, I made Divine Serpent into more of a threat. Next up, Orichalcos Swords of Concealing. This is pretty much the Orichalcos version of Swords of Revealing Light, only this does a bit better. When this card is activated, I flip all monsters my opponent controls into face-down defense position. These positions cannot be changed for as long as this card remains face-up on the field. And also, during my main phase, I can choose to destroy this card. Next up, Angelic Thief. This is another card by my friend Wynter Moon. During my opponent's damage step, when a monster attacks, take control of it. I inflict damage equal to the original attack to my opponent. During either player's turn, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, my opponent can banish this card, and if they do, I target that monster. They gain control of that monster, and if they do, I draw 1 card. So next up, we have another mystery card here. Like before, if you want to see what it is, you got to check it out. And then we have pretty much Briar Transplant. I banish a card on the field and it doesn't target. Simple as that. This is from the manga. And then we got 2 Call the Haunted. So that's essentially it for the main deck. Now we get to the extra deck, which I am going to show a few things. First up, we have a Beat Cop, and we have a Link Karibo. Okay, and then next up, we got, we have a new addition to the Orichalcos deck, Infernal Dragon Archfiend. This is a Game Master monster. The very first one that I'm showing physically in a video. I covered the Game Master mechanic that Mo and Wynter Moon designed a long time ago. If you want to check out the Game Master discussion, it's in my channel. You just gotta find it. But to refresh your memory, what Game Master monsters are is basically they are a special type of monster. Well, basically you need an 8-sided die in order to use these. Basically they go into the Master Zone. They go into the Master Zone, which is where the Field Spell Zone is. So, the Field Spell Zone is also treated as the Master Zone, so basically you could place your Game Master monster there, and while in the Master Zone, this is what happens. If this card is activated during each of my standby phase, the turn player rolls a d8, and I apply the appropriate effect to the turn player depending on the result. So the effect can be for either me or the opponent, and these are the effects you choose from. Gain 1,000 life. If you roll a 1, gain 1,000 life points. 2 to 4, destroy one card you control. 5 to 7, destroy one card your opponent controls. Or 8, destroy all cards your opponent can destroy all cards your opponent controls. So you have those effects to choose from depending on what die you roll, while your Game Master monster is in the Master Zone, aka the Field Spell Zone. Next up, it's also an effect monster too. It requires 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. And after damage calculation, if this card battled, I can change the battle position of all monsters my opponent controls. If this card is destroyed, I can place it in the Master Zone. So that's basically how Inferno Dragon Archfiend works. It's a very interesting twist to the Orichalcos challenge. And once again, I give huge props to Mo and to Wynter Moon for the design of this card. Thank you gentlemen so much. I'll just place you right here. Next up is another card design. It's another one of my friend Wynter Moon's creations. This is Yubel, the Queen of Dimensions. This is a new form for Yubel, but it's a custom card only. Basically, it is a fusion. It is a dark level 8, 3025. And it cannot be destroyed by battle. I can special summon this card from my extra deck by shuffling the above cards from either field or graveyard into the decks. I do not need polymerization. The requirements is The requirements is 12 monsters with different levels, and what it does is very simple. I can also substitute 2 level 8 or higher fiend monsters for the above fusion materials. So basically, say for example, I sacrifice a level 8. And a level 4. That would pretty much equal 12 automatically. Well, no, it says you can substitute 1 level 8 or higher. Oh, sorry, folks, I misread that thing. I could substitute 2 level 8 or higher fiend monsters for the above fusion. So basically, I can give up 2 level 8s to bring this thing out. It's that simple. So basically, here's the whole gist of this thing. This face-up card's activity effects cannot be negated. I take no battle damage from battles involving it. At the end of the damage step, if this face-up tab position card battles an opponent's monster, I inflict damage equal to that monster's attack to my opponent. Also banish that monster. Neither player can activate cards with the same name during a chain. So that's pretty much how Yubel works. Alright, next up, number 200, Orichalcos Soul Leader. This is my name number monster in my Orichalcos deck. I've covered him many times. Along with, let me see if I can find them first. Hang on a minute, people. Along with his Chaos number and along with Dark Chaos number 200. I covered these three in the past. They have been a part of my deck for a good number of years. This is their latest. This is their latest revisions. Basically for number 200. Basically he still requires 2 level 5 Orichalcos monsters. That has not changed. And once per turn, I can detach a material from this card to target one monster my opponent controls. Attach that target to this card as a material. This card gains 200 attack for each material attached to it. If it would be destroyed, I can detach a material instead. So basically, he can basically buy time. As for Dread Scythe, basically he must be special summoned by the effect of Ring Up Magic Orichalcos Force. And once per turn, I can detach 2 materials from this card, target 2 monsters my opponent controls, attach them to this card as materials, and he gains 400 attack for each material attached to it. And if it will be destroyed, I can detach 1 material from this card instead. Then next up, we have Dark Chaos number 200, Orichalcos Dreadmaster. And what he does is he can also only be summoned by Rank Up Magic Orichalcos Force, and once per turn, I can detach 1 material from this card, activate the following effects. I can inflict 300 damage to my opponent times the number of materials on this card, and I can target 3 monsters that my opponent controls, attach them to this card as material. If this card will be destroyed, I can detach 1 material from this card instead. So this thing can get materials really quickly. Next up, Kirito. I don't need to say anything. This is also in Florentine Yu-Gi-Oh's deck. If you want to check it out, check out his deck profile. Next up, Orichalcos and Tuneric. This is also one of the cards that he used in his Orichalcos deck previously. So I'm not going to mention anything about him. So you can check out one of his past deck profiles. This one, though. This is one of the most powerful monsters in my Orichalcos deck. This is Alexandramore, Dragon of the Orichalcos. It is a rank 4 wind, 2500 attack, 4000 defense, and it requires 4 level 4 Orichalcos monsters. Once per duel, I can detach 1 all exceeds materials from this card to destroy all cards on my opponent's side of the field. This card cannot attack unless you send the top 10 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So it's a really beefy, it's a really costly back row removal, but it's really worth it. It really is. Next up, we got 4 cards to go. Firenet Link Master. This was in my last Orichalcos deck profile. If you want to check him out, check out the last one. Next up, I also have Orichalcos Motra. This is a very interesting Orichalcos monster. He's a dark level 6, 2000 attack, 1000 defense, 2 level 6s. 2 level 6 Orichalcos monsters, that is. And while this card has Xyz materials, it's also a level 10 monster. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, special one Orichalcos monster from your graveyard. Face up, special summon monsters your opponent controls. Cannot activate their effects while this card has Xyz material. Their effects are also negated. You must control a face up the seal of Orichalcos to activate to pretty much resolve the effects. So essentially, this thing is a negator, essentially. A very good negator. Also, we have Warlock of Orichalcos. This requires both, basically, my Orichalcos Shaman and my Sorcerer in order to make this, since they're the only 2 compatible ones to make it. Because it requires 2 Orichalcos Spellcasters, and both of them are Spellcaster. Once per turn, you can attach 1 material to activate one of these effects. I can either destroy 1 card my opponent controls, or discard 1 random card from my opponent's hand to the graveyard. So I can either rip a card or destroy a card, essentially. Then next up, we have Orichalcos Dragon and Dark Girgan X. These are the newest revisions of Dragon and Dark Girgan X. Shout out to Florentine Yu-Gi-Oh! If you guys want to check out their effects, you can check out his channel. And with that being said, people, that is it for the Orichalcos. Challenge deck profile revision 2020. There will be another revision at some point in the immediate future, so stay tuned. But until then, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 saying see you later. Thanks for watching.